on this WISAARD short. We're just talk about projects today. My name is Kim Gant. This session will be recorded. I'm going to speak with my camera off today because I'll be looking at 3 different screens and not the camera. This session will be part PowerPoint slides and part live demonstration. You may raise your hand and ask a question at any time, and I will also pause between sections for questions. So feel free to type questions in the chat as well. And one of the other DAHP staffers that are on the meeting might be able to answer them for you. So first, quickly, I want to introduce you all to the new reformatted WISAARD web page. This is how you get here is to go to dahp.wa.gov. Or you can go to the WISAARD Start page and press the Help tile. This page contains the latest sign-up instructions, tutorials, and other information. Recently, you may have noticed that we lost a bunch of our tutorials because of a technology update. We got a new ArcGIS server, and that got rid of a bunch of our stuff. So we're working on new materials to get them posted, and these WISAARD shorts we have been doing and will continue to do will help achieve this goal. The previous WISAARD shorts are linked on this page by topic. As you can see, the little tiles, each little tile is a different topic. This recording will be added to this web page as soon as we get it processed. So first things first, what is a project? We're going back to basics. A WISAARD project is a bucket that holds APE information, inventory data, and reports that are associated often with a regulatory undertaking or a survey. Any data entry, regardless of whether it is regulatory or not, requires a project to be created. You must have a WISAARD account with either historic property inventory access or archaeology permission access to create a project. The project tab and dashboard will not show up until you're logged into your WISAARD account. There are separate instructions for logging in and for signing up for accounts on the web page I just mentioned. If you are in the public realm of WISAARD, where you can only search architectural data, you will not see the project options at all. Next one, so who creates a WISAARD project? So anyone that needs to consult with DAHP may create a project. There are 2 scenarios, basically. Either the user creates the project or DAHP creates the project. If DAHP created the project, the number will always be on the response we send to you, so you can cross-reference. If you, the user, creates the project, you must coordinate the number and access with other project stakeholders so duplicate projects are not created. The project module is designed to allow multiple users to input and review data in one project. So if you are an agency and will have consultants doing the work, you need to tell them the project number and add them so they have access. If you are a consultant and are working for an agency, ask the agency if they have a project number before starting one. This reduces a lot of confusion for everyone in the long run. We will go over how to add people to projects during the demonstration. What goes into a WISAARD project and what is required to be submitted in WISAARD versus what is subjective, if you might say. So the first thing, what goes into the WISAARD is an APE. So if there's an APE module, if you are using the APE module, it goes into WISAARD. It is not required, but it's nice to have. We will do a separate tutorial for APE soon. A lot of folks still send us APE maps and APE letters via email, and that's fine. But we're going to do a tutorial soon. It is really nice to have the APE on the map, especially. Second thing we put into WISAARD is historic property inventory data. This is required to go into WISAARD. There is no paper form anymore. The only way we can get this data is for you to enter it into WISAARD. Archaeology site survey data. This is also required. There is no paper form. Cemetery and burial site record data. So we have newly created a cemetery form, and we are still working on getting information out about how to record things there. There is no paper form, but please check with the physical anthropology or archaeology unit before recording cemeteries or burial sites if you have questions. The fifth item is TCP data. TCP data entry is at the discretion of the submitter. So it's on a case-by-case basis. If you have TCP data to enter, you are welcome to. However, you do not have to. So just it's at your discretion. And the sixth thing we put in WISAARD are reports. There's different types of reports, but it is required that they go into WISAARD. We will do a separate tutorial for report upload module very soon. And now this is almost the more important slide, is what does not go into a WISAARD project. The current WISAARD structure doesn't support all the other documents associated with a regulatory undertaking and the workflow that goes along with them. This is why we have a hybrid WISAARD/email submission process. Things have to have a prescribed bucket to go in, or you can't find them later. I'm sure that's happened to everyone. Our administrative record, including letters, emails, project plans, all types of other documents, live offline in another file structure that you do not see in WISAARD. However, it is all tied together with the WISAARD project number. DAHP logs every regulatory review in the database that is the backbone of WISAARD. So every review we get, regardless of regulatory authority, will show up as a project in WISAARD. You may see projects in WISAARD, and there are lots of them, that will never have any inventory forms or archaeology site forms. And that's basically, it's a record that we saw something, but it may not have anything in it. There is more in the back end that you can't see. So just an example, anything that is not listed in the previous slide should not go into WISAARD. So for example, consultation letters, easy or project review forms, emails, construction plans and documents, NEPA documents, agreement documents. We do have a list of agreement documents. You can find it on the search page. There's an MOA category that you can search up agreement documents. The documents themselves are not accessible at the moment, but there is a listing there. The point I want to make here, though, is you do not put them in WISAARD. Those get entered into a separate place and by DAHP staff. We don't want them in WISAARD projects. You will not put any register documentation in projects. All register, documentation happens between the register staff and it gets into WISAARD in the back end. You can view it all, but you don't put it in a project. And we don't have a place in project for federal tax credit project documents. Those types of documents are all handled outside of WISAARD. So the list is long of things that don't go in, but hopefully we have something good going, so there's plenty to put in there. Next, I'm going to navigate to the WISAARD. So let's get started on the project dashboard. So this is the WISAARD main page. There are two ways to get to the dashboard. You can click this tile, or you can go up here to this main menu and click Project Dashboard. What is on your project dashboard? So this is your personal project dashboard. You see I'm logged in over here, my name. On this dashboard is going to be a list of projects that you created or that you are listed as one of the project contacts in. Sorry, my phone rang. Let's see. These are in project number order. The project number consists of the year, so 2025, the month, and then the order they were created in the year. So according to this, it looks like, I created this one today, it looks like we're at 7,400 records for this year. There's a little icon up here on the top right that will change from a list to the tiles. You probably, many of you maybe didn't know that. If you're a list person, use the list. You will notice here that it says tracking code, where the project number is. That's because tracking code is our old number, the old term we used to call the project number, and old habits die hard. It is the same thing, I assure you. On the top left here, you have a search bar. And this search bar will search the project numbers and the project description. So the name and the project number, well, you can search here. If you have so many that you can't find them anymore, that's where you can search that. Next down here, there's a button to start a new project, and then we'll click that in just a second. And down here, there's a button called Complete and Easy To. This is for the non-cultural resource professional users, and it takes them to a different form. But we're not going to talk about that today. That we do have a separate tutorial for Easy To on the website. And down here, you can filter your projects by year. So just click on the year, and it'll give you everything by year. And then click on the refresh button to clear that out. I like tiles, so I'm going to go back to tiles. Okay, so if you click on a project, the main page will open for that project. If you look up here, you'll see that this project is now an open page. If we go back to my dashboard, I'll see I have this Open Projects tab. This tab is just a list of open project pages. It is not an indicator of a project that is actually closed or completed, or so just because it shows up here just means it's an open project page. There is no mechanism in WISAARD or anywhere else in DAHP's administration to close a project. There's no close project button. That projects can be added to indefinitely if the need arises. So now you have determined that you need to create a new project. So what are the nuts and bolts of that step by step? First things first, press Start a New Project. Add a project name that is short and descriptive. So at first glance, one can tell what it is without opening it. It is usually an action of some kind if it is a regulatory undertaking, or it could just be a survey with no undertaking. Try to write it so it makes sense to an outside observer with no prior knowledge of what it is. If you are conducting a survey as part of a regulatory undertaking, the name of the project should be the name of the undertaking, not the name or title of the survey. Remember that this is a bucket for all things related to an undertaking. The survey is an attribute of the project, not the name of the project itself. Basically, when naming things, if it only makes sense to you, DAHP staff will probably not know what it means, and searching for it by name by anyone will be difficult. So it's immensely helpful for searching when names are clear, plain language. So step one in my creating a project, I'm going to go ahead and add my project name. I'm adding test in here, so I know to delete it later. I'm creating live data, and I don't want to have any junk data. Next thing we have is a project description. This should just be a brief description of the project, so at one glance, a user can be sure they are looking at the correct one, and then it's easily understandable. You can get a real quick glance of what it is. So I'll add a project description. And then next, we can add a project location. This is a brief description of the location in the area. It could be a single address or other appropriate description, including township range section, county, acreage, or other appropriate information. I will go ahead and add one that I have here. Okay, you probably will not see all of this code written at the bottom. You guys can just ignore that stuff. Once you have all the information entered, you can hit the Create Project button. Once you click that button, the project front page will open. The number is created up here, and the location description and name are populated. You can edit everything that has a pencil icon. So it has a pencil, 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 pencil. You cannot edit the project number. Also note that this, as soon as a project is created like this is about the only time you'll be able to delete a project because there's no data yet tied to it. So I'll go ahead so this delete button, if you start entering data and got inventory forms in here and stuff, the system will no longer let you delete projects. So I'll show you what it looks like when it is going to work. You can just delete, and it'll say it was successfully deleted. If it's not going to let you delete it, you'll get an error message. I'm gonna go back to my project. I created 2, so I knew I needed to delete 1, so I created 2. It really was gone. Okay, back to our project page. So by default, your name and organization will appear under person, people, and organization. You don't ever need to add DAHP staff to your project. We can see it without you adding us. You can add us if you'd like to, if it helps you remember who your contact is, but you don't need to. So at this point, if others will need access the project to enter data or review it, you, the owner of the project, will need to add them. Or someone else who's already been added to this project, someone else in your agency perhaps. The people that you add must also have a WISAARD account. We can't add people that aren't WISAARD account users. A common scenario for which you would add another person is if you're an agency and you need to add a consultant so they can enter survey data on your behalf, or if you want, consulting tribes to view information, if you're an agency. So here are the steps to add another person in a different organization than your own. So go over here and click the Add button. Search to find the organization. I'm going to use this one because I was just emailing with Katie at ESA this morning. Type in a search term and find the correct organization, company, agency, whatever it happens to be. Make sure the organization matches the one associated with the person. So some large agencies have sub-organizations, like for different offices or regions. And the organization must match exactly to the person you are adding, or they will have access issues. It's nothing we can't overcome, but it will wrench the deal for a minute. The project role is informational and does not have any effect on access. So just choose whatever is appropriate. Just choose consultant and then click Save. The next thing we need to do is add, let's see now, when you add an organization, the default is editor access. If you need to remove edit access for a particular organization, click the pencil and then uncheck the active box. You can delete an organization from a project if the person associated with that organization has not entered data anywhere. So I can uncheck the box, but I can also just delete this one by using the remove button, and that will take that organization away since they haven't edited any data yet. Okay, but the active checkbox is for the organizations you can't delete because they have data. Okay, moving on. To add people, click on the Add button. Search by name. Make sure the organization matches exactly what was added. So when you search people, you will have a name and you will have the organization. So make sure this matches exactly. This matches exactly what I just put in the organization. Project role is informational and does not affect access. Just go ahead and add that. So make sure you check the person active if you want them to have edit rights in your project or even to view it. It affects access, so make sure you check it. You can uncheck it to remove a person's edit access. And then click Save. Now I want to pause here for just a second to see if there's any questions about adding people or adding organizations. Raise your hand or type something in the chat. Leanne, go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for walking through this. I guess my question is, in this example, you're listed as the primary activity contact, and then we've got Katie Wilson as a consultant. If you were to leave the agency, who has editing rights to this project, or who can go in and add new people? How does that work?
So if there's no one that's working, like so if I leave and Katie also leave, so if there's everyone in here is gone, you just would need to email us and ask us to add you, basically, because you can't get in and do it yourself.
Okay, all
Is that
right.
what you're asking?
Yeah.
You can
Okay,
always email
thanks.
support and ask to be added to a project. Say, the person, the agency leaves it suddenly one day and you have to get in. Yeah, just email us.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hmm. Okay, that was okay. Any other questions before I move on?
There's one in the chat. It just
Okay.
says, do permissions differ between contributors, preparers, and agency representatives?
No, permissions don't differ between those folks. The only thing permissions differ in is based on the content of WISAARD. So archaeology access is one level of permission. Historic property inventory access is another level of permission. It all has to do with the sensitivity of archaeological records, not on person. Okay, let's see. I see another one. The question, if the active is not clicked, can that person still have access to review? I think I have to double check on that. I can get back to you on that, Saraf. They should not be able to see draft. Sorry, it's a complicated spreadsheet of accesses, and it's hard to remember who all can see what when. It depends on things, if things are in draft or submitted status, but I can answer that question for you later. Serafina, sorry about that. You're only a Saraf at the thing. Okay. I think we're clear of questions, Maddie.
Yep.
All right. Then let us mosey on over to the top tabs of the project page. So here we're still on the project page. We're on overview page. The next tab over is APE. So this module is for drawing an APE shape and uploading APE letters. Yes, this is the only place where letters can go in WISAARD. I'm not going to open this up and go through it. I'm going to do a separate tutorial for APE. But so there is a project APE layer on the map, and your project will not show up on the map unless you use the APE module and draw the shape. If you want your project to be on the map, you have to draw it and submit it. DAHP staff is not going to do it. If you just send us an email with your APE letter and your map, it's never going to be on the project layer on WISAARD. Just make sure, and I'll go over this in process, just make sure if you do submit an APE that you tell us that it's there and we can process it to completion so it shows up. The Inventory and Valuation tab is where all inventory data is added and reports are uploaded. So it is called Inventory and Evaluation because this is also where DAHP records determinations of eligibility. These evaluations are associated with individual resources, so you have to drill down into the inventory forms to get to that information. So these sub-tabs, so property, this is where you'd add historic property inventories. Archaeology is where you'd add archaeology site forms, TCP, cemetery burial site form, and this is where you would add upload reports. We're not going to go into any of this today. We did a separate one for property not too long ago, and that's linked. But we need to do tutorials for the rest of these, and we will do them very soon. And so that's the last tab on here. You'll see the delete and you'll see the close. You will not see this administration button. This is only for us. Like I said, the delete button will work as long as you haven't entered any data. In the close, all it does is just close this page down. And I can open it back up. So, like I said, the delete button will not work if there's been any data entry. And that includes data entry by DAHP that you can't see. So data entry means that there are now dependencies and the database will not allow deletion. So please reach out to support if you think you have a need to delete something and it won't let you. We will have to look at the back end to see if it can be deleted, and if so, what is stopping it. There are instances where projects are created in duplicate, and this might be the reason for wanting to delete a project. So for example, if you're a consultant and you've created a project and entered data, and you find out, oh no, the agency already created a project and entered data and sent DAHP the project number. So now we have two projects and with data that's separate, but and there's confusion about where everything is. This is a solvable problem. So DAHP staff can merge projects together in these cases. So please always reach out to support at dahp.wa.gov for help with this scenario. We can help you. It doesn't have to be confusing. Okay, I'll pause just for a second here again to see if there's any questions about the tabs or deleting or anything up there. No hands? Awesome. You guys
There's
are awesome.
a few questions in the chat.
Okay. You want to read one to me, Maddie?
Yeah. And you might have gone over this already, but I was late to the party. Did you discuss the consultation process as far as setting up a project in WISAARD? Do we email specific staff that a project has been set up?
I am going to get to that just now.
Perfect. Awesome. And then the other question is, in the My Projects tab, is that to submit a project only, or can we have a My Projects list for projects we are reviewing?
The Projects tab, the My Projects, so your project dashboard, this is going to be projects that your name is associated with them. So you are on this people list. That is the extent of that, if that answers your question. So there's no other way to like tag things in here. It's just stuff that your name is on.
They said that answers your question. Perfect.
Okay. Great. Did we clear out the chat?
Oh, yes, we did.
Okay, excellent. Now we are going to mosey back over here to our PowerPoint. So now you know what's going on the WISAARD dashboard, on the project dashboard, on My Projects, and I've mentioned this hybrid WISAARD email process that we have for consultation. So I'm going to go over just the very basic steps to consult with DAHP and how it fits in with the WISAARD project. So this is basically what it might look like for a standard Section 106 review. We've got myriad regulations that we review things for here at DAHP. Excuse me, I'm gonna take a drink. And so there are myriad scenarios where you would submit things to us. This is a nutshell type of scenario. So step one, here's what you would do. You would create a project if you're the agency. Create a project and put in an APE. At that point, you got to consult on your APE with DAHP. So you would want to email DAHP to request consultation on the APE. Email DAHP, say, here's my project number. I enter my APE in WISAARD, and that email sets off our clock to respond. So that email starts, well, let's see, I can't remember. I don't think APE has a 30-day clock, but we will start our clock on that receipt of that email. So, and DAHP will just go to WISAARD, check the APE, look at the letter if you uploaded it in there, and put it in review complete if it's all good. And we will respond to you via email with a letter. We will always respond to you with an email and a letter. So that kind of closes out the first step, the APE process, right? So, and then after you have that all done, so let's say now you have to add cultural resources inventory data in WISAARD. So that's what you're going to do next. You're going to go back into your project. You or your consultant is going to add inventory data and reports in Wizard, and then you're going to submit that. You're going to press submit buttons, because that's how we know when we go in there to Wizard that it's ready for us. And I'm careful with that language because we don't get notified that it's ready for us until you email us. So you submit it, you press submit buttons in Wizard, and that's awesome. And then you're going to email DAHP at the appropriate regulatory inbox, right? And they're on the screen here, the 106, 2102 SEPA. You're going to email us at one of those email boxes with a letter that you have written or just an email message. It doesn't have to be fancy. You're going to include the Wizard project number on the email subject line. And you're going to let us know that there's stuff in there for us to look at. So the date we received the email is the start of the review clock. Then DAHP takes off running with the materials. We read all the stuff. We look at all the inventory forms. We make determinations of eligibility for submitted inventories, and we review reports and put them in review complete status. And then we get to our letter writing, and we will respond to your consultation request with a letter via email. And that is the basic example of how one process might go. The point I really need to drive home is that submitting things in Wizard does not automatically prompt a review. We just don't have that notification capacity built in. So we must get an email with more information, whether it just be the project number, a brief description of what you need. We need to know what regulatory authority you want us to review it under. And I do have all of this submission process written down on the website, and you can see at the top it says dahp.wa.gov, and you go to the top menu and just click on Project Review on the top menu, and you will see a couple of different processes for Wizard that includes the emailing steps, the Wizard steps, et cetera, et cetera. So I hope that helps you all. This is all what I had prepared for today, and so I'm just going to pause again to see if there's any questions about this submission process.
Yes.
So many questions. Right?
Yeah. So in the chat, it says, who do we contact if it is not a 106 SEPA or 2102 Nexus, like a county requested survey that they want DAHP to review?
You can just send it to the 106 email box, and someone will review it and decide where it needs to go. Okay, next. Let's see.
Our county projects 2102.
They're probably SEPA.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have to. We have a SEPA box. It might be a SEPA box. But that's outside the scope of this. So if you have questions about that, you just send me an email and we can get it routed to the right person to answer you. 2102 is for state capital funding, so no, county projects would probably not be 2102.
What is the resource inventory? Are you referring to the various tribal consultations?
Let's see, the resources inventory. A cultural resources, maybe you're talking about the cultural resources inventory that you, let me drag my wizard back over. Let me get rid of my PowerPoint. A cultural resources inventory is basically you're recording archaeology sites, you're recording historic properties, and your inventory, your list of properties you recorded would be here, and the report would go in here. Tribal consultation is a separate, it's consulting on all the various, aspects of a project, so that's a different animal. Okay. Thank you, Robin, for the question. Liz says, are these instructions somewhere so we know the order and what to do? And yes, they are on our website. I will go to the website and show you exactly. Go to DAHP. Just click on this name. Just click right there. Project review. It's not intuitive necessarily because you want to pick something from the drop-down menu, but it's really just click that top button there. And I have the 106 one. I got a SEPA one. All of these here. So they change from time to time, and it's hard for us to keep up with so little staff on the exact, steps all the time. But we do our best, and please always just reach out with questions. Let's see. Let's see what we have next.
I think these are all the
we got that.
questions in the chat, but Leanne has their hands up. Oh,
hand up.
Yeah.
Who is it? Leanne, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Can you expand a little bit on the definition of a project? I'm just thinking about scenarios where there might be multiple funding agencies over many years that consultation began, and then more funders get added. And what's the criteria to just, add on or continue consulting with an existing wizard number versus what might trigger making a new project?
I wish it was an easy answer. It's for something that large and complicated, it's really a case-by-case basis. We don't have, a process written down for now it's X, now you need to start a new project. It really is a case-by-case basis. It's what makes sense for the gathering of information, right? Does it need to still be together? Is it really a separate undertaking? We've got, federal highways projects in WISAARD that are really long and full of stuff and really complicated, and the project, aspects of the actual undertaking should dictate, what needs to be done in WISAARD. So there are all kinds of, scenarios of complicated things that you just have to do on a case by case basis. Happy to, talk out if you've got a specific example. Happy to talk out like how, those things should fit in.
Yeah, just to clarify, it sounds like you're saying the lead agency can make that determination, whereas in the past, I thought I heard DAHP's preference was to minimize the number of unique project numbers.
DAHP's preference is to make sure that the record for an undertaking is all in one place. So it's not hard to find. So everything is connected. If, the lead agency, because it's, the system is based on one undertaking equals one project. If you've got, a scenario where it's so big, you just can't manage it, well, then we're always, willing to and open to discussing like what works best for the agency. We know how WISAARD works. You know how your project is going to work. We have to, just have a discussion about how it works best together.
Okay, thank you.
I see another question. Timothy says, what criteria should I use to decide whether something needs its own project versus adding to an existing one? I think this is the same kind of question, Timothy. Multi-year, multi-phase. Yeah, you just really have to work with the agency and work with DAHP to figure out what makes the most sense in terms of what the structure can handle, how we're going to find things later. So it's really a case by case. It would be fun to go into the weeds about all the things that we run into for different projects. But yeah, the key is communication. Oh, Mary, thank you. It is hybrid. It isn't WISAARD, and the project review system is hybrid. We just don't have the framework built to fully workflow it through WISAARD. So we Someday we may be able to afford to build that, but we don't have it right now. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I will tell you all that, like I said at the beginning, we did record this and we'll put it on. You can watch it over and over again at your leisure. Maybe it can help you put you to sleep tonight. But I want to thank you for coming and look forward to seeing you all at the next Wizard Short, which we don't have scheduled yet, but it won't be long, I promise you. Okay, thank you all so much for coming.